Hey guys, it's Chandra here, and today we're doing a reading for Katrina, and Katrina's got a pretty general question. She just wants to know what's going to bring her happiness. So this is a pretty interesting question. This is one that I don't get very often. I've had it before on occasion a few times, but by and large, happiness is such a subjective word. You know, happiness means different things for different people. And so when doing a reading around something like happiness or um, something that's going to have different meanings for different people, it's important to get your own ego or your own ideas of what happiness are out of the way. Because it's not about you, it's always about the querent, the person that you're doing the reading for. And in this case, it's Katrina. So I'm just shuffling the cards now, and I'm trying to just kind of focus and kind of wrap my mind around the question itself. What's going to bring Katrina happiness? And amazingly, the cards usually do a lot of the work for me in terms of helping to unravel things, give me more insight or things about the person, and then things start to come in psychically. And so then I can start to get kind of a deeper understanding of the person and their situation. And from there, the narrative starts to unfold for me, and I'm able to get the answers, or at least get more clarity around the question that the person is asking for. I really like this question, though. I'm really glad to do this reading. I like doing readings that are a little bit different than the everyday norm that typically people would have a question about. So this is a very psychological question in a lot of ways. And I'm just going to keep shuffling here for just a moment longer. I normally go until I feel like it's the right time to stop. And I'm getting there. So now we're going to cut the cards. Okay, cards are cut. Okay, and for this card, I'm just going to do a general reading for Katrina. And in this general reading, we're going to get to the bottom of this question. We're going to look at some of the things in the past, the present situation, the near future, to give her an idea of what she can expect and different things. We'll look at kind of what the answer to the outcome is. We'll look at the energy surrounding her current situation, and we'll also look at some maybe what she's wishing for, what she's hoping for, what her ideal outcome would be, or ideas or thoughts that are perhaps kind of in the periphery of her mind or her mindset. And so we'll just kind of run with that. So the first card is going to be the card that deals with really the past. And this is going to give us some insight in terms of Katrina's past and that. And so the past, we have this card right here. Now this is a sword, so swords are usually about mental conflict. And this particular sword, the Five of Swords, is normally when this card comes up in a spread, normally what it is indicating is this idea or this mentality of winning at any cost. And so right away we're starting to get some information that the cards are giving us. And what it's telling us as far as Katrina's particular situation. Hi, Katrina. So what it's basically telling us is that you've had certain ideas, you've had a certain mindset or mentality of where things were about winning at any cost, and oftentimes when this card comes up, it's about unexpected losses. It's about unexpected unhappiness that as a result of maybe you've gone after the things in life that you've wanted, or you've done whatever you had to do in order to get yourself ahead or get yourself to be the winner of a circumstance or a situation. And now that you've gotten there, it's like, it's like, was it really worth it? Was was the win worth the loss? And by loss, I just simply mean that oftentimes to get ahead or to win, we have to let things take a back seat. Also, sometimes, we hurt others sometimes in order to get ahead, and we put them in less favorable situations. And when that happens, we may feel like, oh, this is good for me, but then there might be a deeper part of ourselves that says, well, I don't really have any friends anymore, or I don't really have these associations or these connections or these relationships that I once had. And that can be kind of unexpected, kind of alarming, it's kind of sad, kind of depressing, and it can cause us to have some conflict inside ourselves that makes us question things. So let's look at the present situation now. Okay, so again, we have swords again and again. When we're talking about swords, we're talking about conflict. We're talking about things that are in the mind, thoughts, ideas, things of that nature. Now, this particular card, as dire as it may look, it isn't really as bad as most people think it is. This is actually the 9 of Swords. It comes before the 10 of Swords. 9s are about endings and completions in numerology. Now, with this particular card, this is sometimes often referred to as the nightmare card. And the reason it is because I want you to think of it like this. So a nightmare is something that we wake up from, right? And it wasn't really real. And that's sort of the same kind of situation with this. This person is, they're overthinking things. They're thinking about the worst case scenario. They're playing these things out in their mind. And the truth of the matter is, none of the stuff that they're worried about or they're fearful about or they're concerned about has even played itself out. So if there's something like inside you feel guilty about, or a circumstance has happened or something along those lines, and it's just haunting you and it's really grabbing at you about whatever the situation happens to be, what my advice is don't worry about it right now, because there's really nothing to worry about. It's just what your thoughts are going on in your head. Now, oftentimes the card that follows this card in the Swords suit is the 10 of Swords, and normally that card, you'll see somebody lying down, they've got swords in their back, and in that case it's usually about like a finite finish. It's like almost comparative to like the Death card, where change is definitely coming about and happening. In this particular card though, you're not quite there yet. Okay guys, sorry for that little interruption there. So what we have here is the 5 of Wands. And this is the near future, like I was saying. And the near future is really about, I usually calibrate this, like I said, about 3 months out. And again, we have another 5. This time it's the Wands instead of the mental. So in this case, when we're looking out about 3 months from now, what we're actually getting, or we're seeing, is that it's about different people having different ideas. And so there's sort of, you want your ideas pushed, other people want their ideas pushed. In the near future, you're going to have to try and see if you can really get your ideas put out there, come to be the leader of whatever the situation happens to be, that you're, I don't want to say fighting for, because that's a little harsh, but whatever it is that you're trying to get out there and push, that's what you're going to need to kind of keep in mind that as things go. Remember, 5s are about change, and so 5s are about change, and like when you have like the 5 of Swords, in the past it was about winning at whatever cost. In this case and all, it's really about not so much winning, but it's just about you've got competition, or you've got other people that are trying to vie for your position. Now that you've won, or you've come to this, we'll just say this, almost like this metaphorical pinnacle of success, other people now want what you have. And so in that case, you'll have people that are trying to vie for that, and you'll have other people trying to push their ideas. And that can cause chaos, and it can cause a lot of frustration. And it's not that they're bad people, that they have bad ideas. In this particular case, it's about difference. Notice that the people in this card all have different clothes on. And that's what that symbolizes, is that different ideas, different opinions, things of that nature. Now the answer card, this answer card of course is going to be really the helping card that helps you get the outcome that is presented or not. So it's going to be sort of the solution card in a lot of ways. And that is the Hanged Man. And I don't like to go into too much detail with this card until a little bit later when we actually get to the outcome. But I do like to present it to you just to kind of have it in your mind, or to kind of just let you see and kind of think about it for a moment. It also helps me to kind of think about it for just a moment before we actually get to the actual outcome. Now, we talked about that Nightmare card. We talked about the Ten of Swords. So that was what's going on with you right now. That's this card right here. It's about things that are we think that they're a big deal, but maybe they're not. Or, maybe we're reading too much into something or letting our thoughts kind of take control of us. And here's the thing. As the Bhagavad Gita quote goes, for one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. For one who has failed to do so, the mind will be the greatest enemy. And in that case, this is really what you're looking at. The mind is really the enemy here. It's not that any outside forces, it's not that any actions, anything like that is really to blame. It's that mental conflict that's within you. When we get to the answer card, we have the Hanged Man, and the Hanged Man is really about seeing things in a different perspective or a different light. We'll talk about it here in just a moment. Now, the energy surrounding this Nightmare card is this card. It is the Knight of Swords. Okay? This is all about mental action. Mental action is all about moving forward, charging ahead. Sometimes it's without really thinking too much. When we do that, the Knights are really about taking action. And this particular Knight is about, getting out there, winning the battle, taking charge of the situation. And it's about taking charge of our own mind. So that's right now the mental energy that's going around this Nightmare card. Notice it's a sword. Notice that the Nightmare card is also a sword. So there's a parallel there, and it's about there's a part of you that's trying to get a hold of things. Probably why you asked the question, what will bring me happiness? Now the next card in our spread is really the Hope card, or the what is the attitude or the circumstances surrounding the present, circumstances surrounding this question, what will bring us happiness? Let's look and see what that is. Okay, very fascinating. This is the Ace of Wands. Let you look at that for just a moment. Now, aces are all about new beginnings, creating things, getting ideas, that kind of thing. The Ace of Wands itself is about taking action, but it's about creating new things, creating new actions, moving in a new direction. Now, let's look at the outcome. Let's look at what really the outcome is, revolving around everything here. We have, as far as our outcome card goes, we have the Three of Wands. Okay, just take a look at that card for just a moment. This is the outcome. When we're looking at the outcome in terms of what brings us happiness, what do you really see here? Now, threes are usually about the involvement of more than two people. So normally it's about like a group, or it's about, maybe some close friends, some equals. A lot of times it has to do with equals, that kind of thing. In this particular card, we have someone that's looking off into the distance. They're kind of turning their back on what's going on and that kind of thing. And let's look at for just a moment, because this is a really interesting spread. Let's look at this answer, which is the Hangman looking at things differently. And let's look at it with regard to this. Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man is looking at things differently. The Three of Wands is someone looking at things in the distance. It's the outcome. So in order to be able to look to other things or to move on, what this is telling you is that you have to see things in a different light. So the perspective and the things that are holding you back, that's the things that are the mental, the mind, those things have to be tamed. And, in the past, you've tamed them by basically winning at any cost. that's not really brought you happiness. So it's not really about winning or losing that's going to bring you happiness. That's just like probably an old pattern or something that you've probably, you know, believed in the past would bring you happiness, or believed was the best solution to any problem was winning at any cost. It's about putting your own ideas forward and that kind of thing. But let me just ponder this for just a moment. Okay, so with regard to what's going to bring you happiness, the answer that I'm really getting here from the cards and also from just what I'm picking up intuitively is service, serving other people. Not being self-serving, not that self-serving is a bad thing per se, but just serving other people, like moving in the direction of service, helping other people. Here's the thing, when we serve others, it's actually kind of like a litmus test. It tells us how much we really do care, right? How much we love someone. I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and a back and forth dialogue, and this very thing sort of came up, and it was just this idea of, like, what does what is real love, and that really comes down to the heart of happiness, love and happiness. And with love, it's all about serving other people without serving them selfishly or with some ulterior motive. Love is really about serving people, from the heart. So I used to say to people, don't do nothing for me unless it's from the heart. Whatever you gift me with, whatever that is, I don't want any obligation. I don't want you to feel obligated to do anything. I don't want to put you out or hurt you or you be hurt in any way. Just whatever really is from your heart that you can do. It's always appreciated, but never expected. And so that's sort of like the whole equation here in terms of what's going to bring you happiness. If you just say to yourself, okay, I've had these thoughts, I've had these ideas, I've operated in a certain way for a certain period of time, but now I want to change that. And I want to be able to look, at new horizons, kind of what the answer card or the outcome card was actually giving you there. And I want to be able to see things in a different light. And I want to really know, like, what is really going to bring me happiness. And I want to feel the effects of that so that I don't have to wake up, from nightmares and the past and things of that nature. And so what will happen for you is if you just start to maybe look at it from this vantage point, like if you have relationships in your life with people, maybe relationships with your work, relationships with family, relationships with friends, relationships with, a significant other or someone that you deeply care about, kind of on a relational plane. These are usually the main criteria of things that, the main focus of things that we have in our life, right? And they're the ones that involve people. So in terms of service and helping, and then we have also just the things that are on the sideline. That could be like volunteering at a soup kitchen or doing some charity work or something along those lines. That would be like tertiary, from what I'm getting at here. You have things that are primary, then you have things that are secondary, and then you have things that are tertiary. The primary things in your life are the things that are the most important. Family, assumably anyway. I don't want to make assumptions here, but assuming that you have family and people that you care about in your life, that usually takes precedence. Or maybe it's your own spiritual well-being and different things on that end. But whatever the case happens to be, the key thing to keep in mind here is that in order to find happiness, it's all about service and doing things from the heart and not doing things with reward in mind and that kind of thing. Oftentimes people just really forget that. And how you can always tell if someone loves you or if you love someone is the litmus test here is how much effort and how well are you serving that person. If you serve that person with your heart and you do things for that person because you truly want to do them and you love that person and you serve that person like nobody else can ever serve that person, not only is that going to bring you great happiness, it's also going to deepen your relationships with other people, and that ultimately is what's going to help bring happiness. the more you fall in love with helping people and serving people, the more happiness you're actually going to have in your life. And that's really the message that I'm getting intuitively, and that's also what the cards are telling me. You have a lot of really great potential out on the horizon. Right now you're surveying things, you're looking at things, and that's really great. And looking at things differently is really the answer to all of this. In the past, you've had a certain way of operating. We have the nightmare card. We have these constant redundant thoughts that keep on populating, and they're taking over and they're controlling us. But if you'll just remember that Bhagavad Gita quote, it's chapter 6, verse 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, "For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. For one who has failed to do so, the mind will be the greatest enemy." So get a hold of, conquer that mind, take control of your own thoughts, be the person in control. Start serving other people in a meaningful way, in a loving capacity, in the best way that you possibly can. And the more that you practice this practice of serving others selflessly from the heart, the greater and the more your happiness will expand. Anyways, it's been great doing this reading for you. If you have any questions, I would love for you to reach out to me. I'm always available to help people, and that's really why I do this. Of course, anyone else, any other psychics, any other tarot readers or divination experts, anyone out there that has any other advice that they'd like to share surrounding this question to help Katrina, please, make sure that you put some comments down below. And of course, for everyone watching the video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get notifications every time we post another video. Thanks so much for your time, your energy, and it was great.